I have a question for you. How much pressure is too much pressure? Now, I'm talking about this specifically from the perspective of a new graduate nurse. Now, depending on where you choose to work, is kind of dependent on how much pressure you're going to be putting yourself under. No matter what, there's going to be some pressure because you're brand spanking new, and I'm willing to bet you're going to find out very quickly that there are things that you didn't even know that you didn't even know. Like you learned a lot in nursing school and it was all very general, but when you start specializing, you're going to go down rabbit holes that you never even knew existed. And that alone is going to create pressure. But if you're even in, like, say, a higher acuity area, like an ICU or a trauma area or ER, like my background is ER, right? There's a lot of pressure in ER, especially depending on the volume of patients or the acuity of patients. Things go down, they're unpredictable, they go down quickly, they get messy, and it can be a lot of pressure. And I'll tell you something, I learned a lot about myself working in the ER, and I learned strength inside of me that I didn't even know existed because of the pressure that ER offered. But here's my question: how much pressure is too much pressure? And I'm also saying this from the perspective of I believe that I believe that I believe that the response of the nursing profession to the pandemic was to crank out nurses faster, with less clinical time, and with less orientation than us older nurses received. So hear me when I tell you that when you're a new nurse and you feel like you are not prepared to be wherever it is that you are not alone, and it is not your fault. I believe that our profession, our us older nurses, your mentors, the places hiring you, have a huge responsibility to do right by you by giving you better training and orientation. I'm just going to boldly put that out there before I get into this much more. So, how much pressure is too much pressure? I have 10 signs that you are under too much pressure, that the pressure that you are currently experiencing is more than you are equipped to handle, and it could be detrimental to your health. And these are warning signs that you need to make a shift. Maybe go to a department that's less acuity, maybe seek more training, maybe take a step back and seek but different mentorship. But these are all signs that you are under too much pressure and need additional support or a shift. Sign number one is you're noticing that you have increasing hesitation or indecision when you're caring for patients. I expect that from you when you're fresh out of school and we're going through orientation together. I expect you to feel indecisive or hesitant about things that we're doing. But as we're going through orientation and we're seeing things and we're getting into a groove, I also expect that I'm going to see that you're going to hesitate less, that you're going to start jumping in more, that you're going to be more decisive, and you're going to be growing that confidence. That's what we expect to see. However, if you find yourself, 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks, 6 months down the road, and you're noticing that you're increasing in hesitation and you're more indecisive when it comes to making decisions about patient care, that's a warning sign that something isn't right, that you are under too much pressure that might lead to poor decision making. That's a warning sign that you need to reach out for support. And it should also be a warning sign to your mentorship team, to your supervisors, to your educators, that you need more support. Number two is if you see yourself making an increase in mistakes or oversights, just general things that you're like, gosh, I knew that. Like it was so simple and I always do it. Yet for some reason, I keep missing it. I just keep missing that simple little detail. So I'm just going to share with you, like straight from my heart. When I got back into nursing after leaving for 5 years, I kept making the same stupid mistake when it came to my labs. Like I was rushing and I was under a lot of pressure and I just wasn't like taking a breath and slowing down. And honestly, like the pressure that I was putting on myself was a me problem. Okay, let me just get that out there. So the pressure can come from the system, but the pressure can also come from inside. And that's something important we'll dig through, another time. But I was putting too much pressure on myself and I was rushing. And consequently, it was leading me to make mistakes. And I was noticing an increase and a repeat in the same mistake and oversight. That to me was an indicator that something was going on, that I needed to stop. I needed to take a breath. I needed to reach out to support because I didn't want to continue to make the same mistake. I'm pretty sure that none of us got into nursing to make mistakes, right? We want to decrease the amount of mistakes that we're making, and we truly desire to do all the right things for our patients. So if you're noticing that you're making more mistakes or that you're having oversight on simple things, take that as a warning that there's too much pressure, something is going on. Number three, if you're finding it difficult to manage your time or to prioritize, if you often find yourself just like feeling totally overwhelmed, like there's so much to do that you just don't even know like what to do next, that's a warning sign that you're under too much pressure. And here's the thing that I can promise you: nursing is going to offer those moments many times in your career. And it doesn't mean that you're a terrible nurse. What it does mean is that the situation that you found yourself in exceeds your current skills to be able to navigate. And that's not a bad thing, but it is a warning sign to say, okay, hey, I've grown this much. This scenario is pressuring me this much, and I haven't grown to meet it yet. This is your gap, right? It's the place where you are going to find strength that you didn't even know that you had. If you choose to lean in, if you choose to say, hey, I'm finding it difficult to manage my time. I'm finding it difficult to prioritize. I'm so overwhelmed right now. I don't even know what my next best step is. And remember, I released a video a while back talking about who are your allies. Make sure that you know that you know that you know who your allies are. Know those safe people to reach out to who can guide you in those moments. Number four, if you notice yourself not noticing the small details, if you're not paying attention or you're not catching small details that another nurse might walk by and be like, hey, did you see that? Hey, did you notice that? Or a doctor would say, how did you miss that? And you're not catching those finer details, it might be because you're under so much pressure. You're like blurring those finer details and you're feeling overwhelmed by the big picture. My friend, nursing is a game of noticing nuances because your patient can change at the drop of a hat and they may not be able to tell you, or they may be unwilling to tell you. But it's your ability to notice those little details that's going to make all the difference in your patient's care, in their outcome, in the way that you care for them. And I'll just give you a simple example, not even related to a patient, but for me, when I walk into my environment every day, the first thing I do is I scan each room. Do I have enough gloves? Do I have suction set up and working correctly? And do I have an ambu bag available where I can reach it? If I have those three things in an emergency room setting, I can manage an airway, I can manage breathing, and I can manage circulation. Those are the three most important small details that I have to notice every morning and in between patients to keep myself prepared. And if you notice that, I've had days where I'm like, oh my gosh, I've gone through the entire day and now all of a sudden something happens and my suction isn't set up. Like, how did I miss that detail that I'm normally very on top of? Like, what's going on with me? That's a sign. Like, what's going on? Is there too much pressure in my workplace? Is there too much pressure in my home life? Like, what's going on? Like, that is my cue that I need to pay attention to. Number five, you catch yourself over engaging in minor tasks. Now, this is a cue that you might be under too much pressure, because when there are minor tasks and you find yourself going all in, going all out, completely over engaging, that's a sign that you are procrastinating, that you are withdrawing, that you are kind of avoiding, if you will, the other higher pressure things. And sometimes, if you're working with a really talented team, the stronger people on the team might notice and they'll just pop in and pick up those little details for you as you're going. But that can be a major warning for you if you're over engaging in smaller, like minor tasks, and you're not engaging in the bigger picture as a mechanism of procrastination or as a mechanism of like, I'm hesitant, I'm indecisive. So if I over engage here and I look busy, maybe something else like or somebody else will take in and swoop in and like rescue me, right? And I'm not judging. It's not a bad thing for that to happen, but it is a warning sign that you might be under too much pressure that cues you to say, hey, what's going on with me? I know that this task really should only take about 5 minutes, and I've been at this bedside for 25. Something's going on. Number 6 cue that you may be under too much pressure is you're noticing that you're having delayed response times to patient needs. So maybe you're feeling hesitant, you're feeling indecisive, you're having a difficulty prioritizing or managing your time, and you're noticing that your response times to patient or family member needs is majorly dragging. Oh my goodness. When I started working in the pediatric ER, I felt hesitant. I felt indecisive. I felt like I was not managing my time well. I felt like I just didn't even know where to start. There were so many tasks. And I remember the physician, he kept asking me, like, hey, did you do this yet? Hey, did you collect this sample? Hey, did you do that? And literally, my response to him all day was, I haven't gotten to it yet. I haven't gotten to it yet. I haven't gotten to it yet. And he was so frustrated with me. And I was so frustrated with myself because I was under so much pressure because I didn't have the skills yet in that specific setting with those patients in that scenario. Like I wasn't in my groove yet. I hadn't grown to develop those skills to be able to respond to their needs in timely ways. And that was a warning to me that, like, okay, this specific setting is creating enough pressure that I'm making small mistakes. I'm not like responding to my patient's needs or to orders in timely manners. Like I need to reach out for support. I need to ask for help. This is an opportunity for growth that I'm being invited to step into. But it's also an area where if you don't address it, it can become too much pressure and start affecting your physical health, your emotional health. Like these are the little warning signs that can lead to burnout, that can lead to lack of fulfillment, that can lead to a poor attitude, that can lead to disengagement. All of these things are warning signs, and I want you to be aware of them so that you can use them for your greater good. Number 7, you notice that you have starting to have decreased confidence in your interactions with patients. Now, there is a certain level of humanism, if you will, in every interaction. Like, hi, I'm Jessica, I'm a nurse, and I'm a human. And hi, you're my patient, and you're a human too, right? There's a simple amount of confidence in the fact that like we can relate just because we're humans. But if you start noticing yourself being afraid to relate or feeling super insecure about just even approaching a patient and introducing yourself and having that initial interaction, that is a warning sign that you may be under too much pressure. Number 8, you find yourself struggling with multitasking. There has never been, well, I shouldn't say that because I don't know about other professions, but what I will tell you is that nursing is also a game of multitasking. Like, especially in the ER, tasks are rapid fire thrown at you all day long. And your job is to take all of those tasks and be constantly reprioritizing and doing the best that you can to multitask. And so, a simple example I was sharing with one of my new graduate nurses, I was noticing a pattern where he would go into the room, he would do the triage, like take the vital signs, ask the questions, figure out the pharmacy, get the height and weight. He would come out, and then he would have to go back in to do the physical assessment. And I was like, okay, We're going to work on efficiency. Next time you do a triage, when you're counting a child's respiratory rate, I want you to put on a stethoscope and listen to the lung sounds while you're counting. When you're listening to the heart sounds, I want you to feel the pulse so that you're gathering vital signs, but you're also doing an assessment at the same time, right? We're multiplying tasks in the same amount of time to work on both efficiency, but productivity and prioritization. So if you notice that like you're watching a seasoned nurse and, he or she is into that room, bam, 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 everything is done. And you're wondering like, how? How is that possible? Go lean on that nurse and say, hey, I'm really struggling with getting all these tasks done in a timely manner. And I'm willing to bet you're going to get tips like, well, when you're triaging, put the stethoscope in and listen to the lung sounds so that you're doing both at the same time. You're doing a physical assessment and you're collecting vital signs at the same time. Tip number 9 that you are under too much pressure is that you start noticing signs and symptoms of literal physical exhaustion. My friend, when you are struggling with these other things, like making mistakes and missing small details and not sure where to prioritize and feeling overwhelmed, you expend a massive amount of physical energy, and it can be exhausting, absolutely exhausting. There are shifts that I come home from work and I am mentally, emotionally, physically just wiped out. And it takes me a good at least half of the next day to fully recover because that day was so much pressure. It was so taxing on what I had. And by the way, I promise you, you will grow in your resilience, you will grow in your capacity. And it does take time, but allow your physical body to give you that feedback. If you notice that you're halfway through a shift and you are just physically wiped out, and with the caveat that you've been doing a good job drinking water, you got enough sleep the night before, you're making good choices at home, right? You're eating good food, right? If you're not doing those things, I don't even want to hear about your physical exhaustion. But if you're taking care of yourself well, and you're noticing that all of that pressure is just absolutely draining your physical body, just know that that's another sign that you may be under too much pressure. And you either need support or you need to make a shift or you need to grow. But over time, if you don't respond to these symptoms, they will lead to burnout. And burnout is such a buzzword these days because they talk about, oh, like I'm so burned out, but they don't talk about why. Like, this is why. It's because we face an immense amount of pressure and we don't pay attention to the nuances and we don't respond to the nuances in ways that are supporting ourselves. Okay. Number 10, how much pressure is too much pressure? When you notice that you are emotionally reactive more than usual. Now, my friends, nursing is a calling to grow your emotional intelligence and to grow your emotional capacity because there is nothing like nursing that will trigger all of your crap, all of your trauma, all of your drama. Like if you want it triggered, become a nurse. Nursing is the perfect place for all of your stuff to be touched, all of your drama and trauma to be triggered. And it is going to require you to grow your emotional intelligence, to grow your emotional capacity. And when you notice that you're feeling very emotionally reactive, this is a sign to you that it's too much pressure, that the pressure that the job is demanding exceeds the skills that you currently have. I had this amazing conversation with one of my new grad nurses just the other day. We took care of this patient. Night shift kind of set us up. She's like, hey, this guy is really weird. The guy that's with him is borderline obnoxious. He's out in the hallway all the time. He's like up the staff's butt asking a million questions. Like the vibe is just off. And she was intimidated before we even went into the room. And so that like showed in her physiology, right? Like before we even met him, she already felt some kind of way. And Then once we started interacting with him, like he was super weird. He was super weird and he was very conditional about his care. Like, you're not drawing labs until I get my pain medicine. You're not doing this until you do this. You can't do this until you do this. You can't take my blood pressure until you give me this warm blanket, right? He was very conditional about his care. And she was getting worked up. Like I could see the stress, like her little, EJ veins were like popping out and like you could tell she was really stressed. And it came across in the tone of her voice. She was emotionally reactive. And the conversation that we had afterwards is she said, like you're so good with those patients. Like, how do you do it? And I said, nursing first and foremost is a heart center. Like it comes from a place where you truly, truly believe that your only job is to serve the patient. And in order to serve him well, we had to listen to what he wanted. He wanted a warm blanket before we took his blood pressure. He wanted his pain medicine before he would allow us to draw his lab work. And it took a little bit of just treating him like a human from a place in my heart of like, I truly desire to care for you today, to create that space that allowed a connection and a conversation, right? But when you're emotionally reactive, that creates a space of like, this is too much pressure. I don't know how to handle this. And it called her into a conversation that expanded her awareness and allowed her to grow her emotional intelligence. And so when you're feeling emotionally reactive, just know that that is this profession calling you to grow in your emotional intelligence and your skills so that you can conserve your energy. I love my friend Shelly Hink. She's also a fellow nurse and she is a coach. And like her thing is healing people to wholeness. And I love how she always says, my time and my energy is expensive. And if I'm going to be spending it, it's going to be spent on something that serves me. And so when you're getting emotionally reactive and wound up and physically exhausted just because of your nursing profession, I want you to know that that's not a wise investment of emotions or of physical energy. And those are signs that you may be under too much pressure. And it's a call to you to say, I need support. I need to make a shift. I need to do something differently because these signs, left unchecked, left ignored, will lead to burnout. It's a sure way to find yourself in that group of nurses that are salty, that are frustrated with the profession, that are blaming the system for burning them out. Believe me, I was one of those. And I hope that these 10 tips are helpful for you to recognize when you're under too much pressure and to be your cue to know that you can always, always, always ask for help. Until our next video, much love.